Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be a continuation of the pawn opening versus thundering cannon defense. Red will play the central cannon and black would counter with the right elephant variation. This will be the sixth spot in the series. So this is based on the book by Master Wenqing and Grandmaster Zhang, who has kindly granted me permission to do these videos in my efforts to promote Xiangqi. So without further ado, let us begin. Pawn opening, thundering cannon, and red will attack with the central cannon, the right elephant variation. Now, in this board, the discussion will be around a6 plus 5, whereby red would choose to move the advisors very early in the game. Now, this is usually not done in Xiangqi because many would consider it to be a too conservative approach. However, this variation seems to have caught on ever since the book was published, and it can be seen now and then in major tournaments that use this opening system. Now, one of the main objectives of this board is that Red would choose to consolidate his defense and choose to adopt a wait-and-see approach to see how Black would attack, and he could counter more accurately and precisely to maintain his first move advantage going to the mid game. Now, usually such opening systems, the battle or the battle is usually fought in the mid game. The initial confrontation would occur slightly later, as both colors would thread very cautiously going to the mid game. There are three variations that I discussed. The first would be h8 plus 7. The second would be p7 plus 1, and the third would be a4 plus 5. Now, there was also an extra variation that was mentioned, r9 plus 1. Now, one of the reasons for a6 plus 5 was to counter r9 plus 1. So what did the Xiangqi masters have? If Black decided to continue with r9 plus 1, one of his main he will usually continue with r9 equals to 4. Now with a6 plus 5, if Black insisted on developing his left chariot as a ranked chariot, Red will counter with the 5-6 cannons in this manner. And once the 5-6 cannons were in place, the effects of this chariot will be greatly diminished. So that is the main reason why Red would choose to play a6 plus 5 to discourage Black from playing r9 plus 1. So and after playing r9 plus 1, this chariot will not have many good places for further development, and we usually still have to continue with r9 equals to 4. And Red would continue to develop his left flank, and this would be a very stable formation. And as can be seen, because Black had developed his left chariot as a ranked chariot, this chariot will now not have many good intersections of further development, while Red could slowly develop both chariots as file chariots. So that is why Red will have a significant advantage by this point, because the spatial advantage that Red will command will now be very significant. And that is why usually if a6 plus 5 were played, Black will usually not play r9 plus 1 and choose to play one of the variations mentioned here. So back to the first variation, h8 plus 7. Now this is a very rigid, by the book or instinctive counter by Black, whereby Black would simply play by the book and develop his pieces in this manner. Now this is not a very good not a very appropriate counter by Black, because Red would continue to develop his pieces, flank chariot, p3 plus 1. Again, this move has been discussed in a similar situation in the previous board. Please refer to that board, but we shall repeat again. It would not be a good idea for Red to develop his chariot as a file chariot at this point, since Black had already played r9 equals to 8 because black would jump on the chance to form blockade. And in this situation, red would still be forced to play p3 plus 1. And because the advisor had been played, this would be a threat of a smothered cannon checkmate threat. And as can be seen, red would not dare to capture trade chariots, and black would take his time to develop his right flank, and black would have the initiative. So that is why r1 equals to 2 is not a good idea, since a6 plus 1 have been played, and this would now become a significantly vulnerable piece. So p3 plus 1 is usually played before red will try to play r1 equals to 2 later on. And r8 c8 equals to 9 is usually played for the 3-step tiger. 5-6 cannons. And both colors will take their time to develop the material. And in this variation, red would choose to defer the development of his chariots while pushing his material across the river. Now, if it would not be a good idea for red to play a c6 plus 5. If red played c6 plus 5, black would simply retreat his elephant, and this cannon would now be placed in a predicament. If it traded for either the horse or the cannon, the initial advantage it had over this file will now be lost. If it moved away, red would have wasted the move. So that is why c6 plus 5 is not a good idea. So h7 plus 6 is usually played, as red would try to attempt to capture the central pawn. But black would simply play a4 plus 5, and this is basically a very dull position at this point in time, and both colors would have their strengths and weaknesses, but it will be relatively equal. So this would be the h8 plus 7 variation. Now in the p7 plus version B, p7 plus 1, black would choose to advance his pawn early on. Now this would be as a reply to red's p7 plus 1. And since red had already played a6 plus 5, black would now focus his attention on attacking this flank. So red developing the red horse as a proper horse. And because p7 plus 1 has been played, black will now be better in developing this horse. Now, one might wonder, would r2 plus 6 for the pawn rank chariot be better than r2 plus 4 to patrol the riverbank? Let us see. If r2 plus 6 were played, a trade of chariots, which usually black would not accept, because black had already pushed a pawn, and development of this horse would be a significant issue later on in the game. Black would counter aggressively with r8 plus 5 for the cross riverbank chariot, attacking the pawn, forcing black red to defend in this manner. And instead of developing his horse as an elephant eye horse at this point in time, in this situation, black would choose to develop his horse as an edge horse. And black can be very satisfied with this position, because although red can develop his chariot as a kingside chariot, the cannon and horse will now be vulnerable to attacks by the chariot and also the cannon over here. So black can be very satisfied with this position. So that is why r2 plus 4 would be a better option. Again, black will usually try to trade material to gain an open line. And as mentioned earlier, in this situation, since red had already played r2 equals to 6, developing the horse as h2 plus 4 would not be possible. It's 5-6 cannons. And as can be seen, this would be a standoff for both colors. Neither color would have pushed any piece across the river to attack. And red's main focus would now be on the left flank, and so would black. Black would now focus on this flank. So both colors would attempt to attack the enemy's uh, right flank, while his own right flank would also be under pressure. There will be equal opportunities, and both colors can be satisfied with this situation. The battle would take place. The main battle will take place in the mid game. A4 plus 5. This is another very interesting variation. Since red A6 plus 5, black counters likewise. Again, by doing so, black will consolidate his central file so that he will not have to worry about having to guard the central file as he develops his other pieces later on in the game. And he will play very patiently, adopt a very slow but deliberate approach to the game such that he will try to counter red's aggressions very precisely. So usually red will continue with h2 plus 3, edge horse, foul chariot, 5-6 cannons, and at this point in time, black would choose to gain material with c3 plus 3 so that this will allow for development of his right horse as a proper horse. Now, this will also clear the pathway for development of this horse in the future. This is part of black's plans, as we shall see later on. It is normal for red to play h8 plus 7. Black will do likewise. A trade of chariots. And in this situation, it will be an even situation for both colors. Now, this left advisor variation is very interesting. When it first came out, it was a little bit controversial, but it gradually grew in popularity. So I think I've seen quite a few matches using this variation in the past. And again, this is quite a new variation for this opening system, and there's still much to be explored. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video showing these three variations: h8 plus 7, p7 plus 1, and a4 plus 5. And I hope that the reader can go through the board again and try to understand the principles that the master and the Xiangqi masters were trying to teach. So if you like the work that I've been doing, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.